Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. I'm back in on the podcast today after a few days off, and I'm back to my usual setup here in London. Back from Wales, and joining me today to talk about last night's episode of SmackDown, we have first Mr. Coby Galenzoski, the head of reviews. How are you, Coby?
I'm pretty good. I made a return, and I'm ready to stir the pot a bit with what's going to be said later, but that'll come in at sometime in the near future in this show.
Absolutely, and he certainly does have a hot take for today. But also joining us today with the host of Take It to the Table, Chaos. How are you, Chaos?
Yo, what's up, everybody? Yes, I am the late replacement for Soul. By the way, Ben, I love how I was the one that saved the show, and I'm not even posted on the thumbnail. I'm not even on the signature of this glorious daily show. But it's all good. We move on. I'm here. Let's get it. Let's talk all controversies and everything that's been happening on SmackDown and everything else.
Absolutely, and we're going to be getting into all of that and more. But let's firstly start by getting on to what opened last night's episode of SmackDown, and that was the Judgment Day. Damian Priest and Finn Balor taking on Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar of the Latino World Order. And this was a really fun match to open SmackDown. It was, I think they only announced it a couple of hours before the show, but it was a really nice late addition to the show, and it was a fun way to open it. But Coby, what were your thoughts on this match?
I mean, exactly what you thought. I mean, like you said, it was a fun and enjoyable match. Of course, that's what you're going to get from these two teams. I really enjoy it, and the fact of the matter is I don't want to say I fell in love, but I've always enjoyed seeing Santos Escobar in a face position ever since his NXT run last year, and hearing the crowd sing the Legato tune, and it was just great in the NXT crowd. Obviously, it's gonna be hard to get to the point for that to be a main roster occurrence, but I love that he's being used. I do think he's in the position of he is very good to be with Rey Mysterio, and in that position of this guy is one of those. He could be what Dominic might fail to be, and that's that next top Latino star, if you want to call it that. But I think he's really good. I like he's in the position. I don't necessarily enjoy that hasn't won a match since probably the World Cup when he made it to in the semis and then lost to Ricochet. Which, I mean, him and Ricochet tore the house down, but it was an enjoyable tag team match. Obviously, we got the Shard Damian Priest saying, "Bad Bunny, hope things go different next week on Raw when you return live in Chicago," because of course they're gonna plug Chicago and plug it being a sold out crowd. But overall, fun, hot tag match. Nothing more you could expect from that match.
Yeah, no, it truly was a fantastic opener to the show. And before I send it to you, Chaos, to ask for your thoughts, we have Soul in the comments claiming to be the host of your show, Chaos, and also saying that he is the MVP of Wrestling Republic, and therefore he is on the thumbnail. What do you say to that, Chaos?
Just because my show is doing a bit better views wise than your Soul Sessions doesn't mean doesn't mean you have to try and try to buy out my company. You try to come up with some medium offer and you got rejected. Just be honest. Face the facts. I'm the host. It is what it is. You stay there being the MVP. Self-proclaimed, by the way. It's all good. So love you.
But what were your thoughts
and keep in mind the MVP would also watch the show and not pull out.
Beef between Coby and Soul right there. But Chaos, what were your thoughts on the opener and Judgment Day getting the victory last night?
Yes, some more important things. The opener was very solid, very fun, enjoyable start to the show. I love the LWO thing. I'm pretty sure, even though this fun run is a right for Santos Escobar and his crew, I'm pretty sure someone of his caliber is probably getting tired of being a goober right now. So
Yeah.
because of that loss, it's leaning more and more and more time, more and more. It's leading more and more to the fact that they're gonna turn on Ray and pretty much take over LWO, which I think that would be awesome for them to also be to solidify him as a top star, the next Rey Mysterio. Then yeah, for sure. For him to turn heel and take LWO to bigger heights will be the next move. But yeah, other than that, it was a nice opener. I love, for the most part, I love Rey Mysterio matches, and yeah, him against Damian Priest have got good chemistry. Yeah, can't complain.
No, absolutely. Rey Mysterio and Damian Priest, they were really damn good last night. And Finn Balor, I've been thinking about this last few weeks. Finn Balor in this Judgment Day gimmick, yes, it's not where I thought he'd be when he first even got called up on the main roster. But he is pulling off the role fantastically, and I really am enjoying him in Judgment Day. Should he maybe as a single star be a little bit higher up the card? Probably. But the fact of the matter is he just had a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania with Edge, which is huge as it is. But yeah, the Judgment Day, I'm not particularly understanding all the hate with them at this point, because I truly do think that despite the fact that at the start, and I say start, the first 6 months or so, they were over
even
time.
that,
I do
first
think
3 months.
I do think they've kind of grown on me a bit.
It was until Triple H got the book.
That's true.
What it was. Is the booking was spotty. Seeing the Mysterios beat Finn and Priest, because those were the two Judgment Days representatives, and then it was just spotty. And then after SummerSlam, they really leaned into this is Judgment Day. Rhea's going to keep beating up Dominic, and you're going to have, of course, the people online saying me next or all that. It's fun. It's all Triple H understands what the Judgment Day is. The only thing I could say in terms of criticism is Rhea Ripley does not feel like the top star of the Judgment Day, despite being the only champion.
Oh, okay.
Like she it's almost like the championship feels like a placeholder right now.
Wow. Oh, wow. That is certainly.
But I like it's being. I like that they're doing Rhea and Zelina. We're
about to get right into that now, because after this segment, there was a backstage segment with Adam Pearce backstage, and Zelina Vega walked into his office and basically talked herself into a championship match with Rhea Ripley at Backlash in just a couple of weeks' time, 2 weeks today or 2 weeks tomorrow. But it was a bit of a weird one, to be honest. Zelina Vega cut a really strong promo and really convinced Pearce for the match. I understand it from that perspective, but I kind of would have liked there to be a bit more interaction between Zelina Vega and Rhea Ripley before this match was announced. It was a little bit weird from that perspective. But Coby, I'll go to you first. What were your thoughts on this? And you just said you're excited to see it, but are you happy with how they got to this point?
I find it interesting, and I don't know if it was a matter of this person wasn't in attendance, wasn't booked to show up. But at the end of the day, SmackDown, I don't want to say had a missing link or a value of these people aren't here, but Rhea Ripley wasn't in the corner of Judgment Day. Neither was Dominic. Yeah. Zelina Vega, Cruz del Toro, and Joaquin Wilde weren't in the corner of Rey and Santos. It was weird. I don't know if, as to my knowledge, they didn't go like, all these people are banned from ringside. But there has been enough. They had the build-up match in late February, early March. But the two things that happened since post WrestleMania have definitely made it so these people do want to see Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega, and they got great chemistry. We saw that over a year ago. I don't know. Zelina Vega's always been underrated in that point. I do like that she is taking that spot of, I'm the face. I'm the only Puerto Rican star. Of course, I deserve to be in the show. You want me to give me the opportunity to shine, and I really like it. I think everyone kind of thinks it is comedy that she has the, well, I call it a sandal. I don't want to butcher the chichonkla or something. Yeah, I feel like that is
Yeah.
wrong, but it's a sand, like it's a sandal to me, and she's always showing it like, oh yeah, well, let me know what you feel, how mommy responds. I think it was fine. Of course, it's weird that they did this promo, which I think was probably taped on Monday. Don't at me if I was wrong, but I think it was a matter of this is. It was weird that it was right after the tag match because they weren't a part of the tag match, but it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if it was taped on Monday, that would explain a lot about why, she wasn't involved there. But even still, I mean, the flip-flop thing or sandal, whatever you want to call it, that she was holding during that promo, I was a little confused by it, to be honest with you. But it did get a little chuckle out of me. But Chaos, what were your thoughts on this promo, and how are you feeling about this match? Just seemingly, I guess, coming out of nowhere, even though the two factions are kind of feuding.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it came out of nowhere. Them two have, like Kobe said, has had a couple of interactions, a couple of hurricanranas to Rhea, and Rhea's been chasing her around the ring and whatnot. So this was bound to happen. It probably, to be fair, I was expecting that to be just a random throwaway match on SmackDown, but the fact that she's actually going to get a pay-per-view out of this, and rightly so, then yeah, I'm cool with that. Now, the promo was solid. I love Selena. She's always, for the most part, been good on promos. She always has. She just never really got the right chance to shine. She didn't get to do it during when she won Queen of the Ring, Queen's Crown. Sorry, and everything else shortly after that. So, yeah, she could definitely handle herself. I think it'll be a great match. Yeah, obviously we all know that Rhea's probably going to most likely retain. But yeah, it was cool. I got a feeling that I agree. It probably was taped, or it was likely may have done a segment where it involved everyone, and because of a certain person is back, they might have, and it's been a high influx of cuts being made in terms of what segments are going to be shown and whatnot. That probably might have been one that might have been on the chopping board. So. But yeah, either way, I didn't feel it, even though it was a bit random, but I didn't feel it was too out of place for this to actually be announced. So yeah, overall, I'm fine with it. Should be a banger of a match, and Rhea to retain.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Two factions being feuding and all of that. I just would have liked there to be a bit more interaction before it was being announced. But at the end of the day, Zelina cut a hell of a promo. And I mean, she was convincing Adam Pearce about the match, but in reality, she was also kind of convincing the fan base about why the match is happening. But she did a fantastic job. And we got March76 in the comments here over on YouTube saying it's a meme in the Hispanic culture, the sandal, flip-flop, whatever you want to call it. That makes a lot of sense then. Because, yeah, I was a little confused by it. But it just seemed so random to me. But, yeah, I mean, let's move on now to the next segment. And the next segment was basically a promo package about Shinsuke Nakamura, and then following it, we had Karrion Kross cut a really damn good promo. He talked about his feud so far on the main roster. He kind of glossed over the fact he'd lost quite a few matches in them, but he kind of missed that bit and acted like he won all of them. But yes, he cut a promo to Shinsuke Nakamura and said, "I haven't hurt any of these people. The cards did." And it was actually a really good promo, pre-recorded one. In fact, it was probably one of the better things he's done on the main roster so far, to be completely truthful on it. But Chaos, what did you think about the segment? And are you looking forward to this Karrion Kross and Shinsuke Nakamura feud?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I actually kind of called it last week when Shinsuke actually came back, and I was like, oh wow, that actually happened. So it's fitting. It'll be interesting. I mean, I don't think it's gonna ruffle feathers, or I don't think it's gonna be some standout feud. I think it's just a placeholder for whatever they have in place for both of them, really. This should be a good way to rejuvenate or revitalize Karrion Kross, because he most certainly needs it, because right now he's on par of being one of the worst signings under Triple H so far. He hasn't been very great. He's just been spinning the wheels pretty much since Clash. If anything, he has nothing really been happening after that, after this feud with Drew. So the promo with Shinsuke, it was okay. It kind of reminds me of the promos that they were doing for Lacey Evans, where like, okay, they're doing drills, they're training and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't really amount to anything. Like, usually they do these kind of promo packages for like big feuds, like, when someone's training really hard for their big blow off match at Mania, that kind of thing. But with this one, it's just, it's training in a dojo. He's the king of strong style. How is that? How am I going to really input this into this current feud that he's doing with Karrion? So it felt very generic, but it is what it is. Karrion, the thing with I agree, Karrion Kross's promo was great, one of his best ones so far. I do agree with some of it. He's always saying that he's the cause of Rey Mysterio, losing his patience, all this kind of stuff, but you pretty much lost all of these feuds, so I don't know how you actually had any influence in these. He's just trying to take credit for something that he didn't really do anything. But either way, I think it'll be fine. I say give it about a month or 2 month feud, and then blow it off from there and move on from there. I think it should be all right.
Yeah, I mean, literally about everything he said in that promo was a stretch, but he delivered it so well that to a lot of the casual fans or fans can't really remember what happened, it actually seemed convincing that it was true. So maybe he should go into politics after wrestling. Who knows? But it was a fun one. But Coby, what were your thoughts on this segment and the Shinsuke Nakamura video package before it?
I mean, it's good. It did its place. It continued to kind of build to like, this is going to be one of those smaller rivalries, and that's almost what I don't want to say that's what wrestling needs, but that's what WWE needs is. And this is good because they have now, since because of COVID, all of the shows have been 5-6 matches. That is the perfect amount for a show. WrestleMania might have 1-2 more. SummerSlam might have 1-2 more. All that. But at the end of the day, there's only so much. And with 5 hours of TV, you can only do so much. And that can only build to the pay-per-view, or the PLE, I should say, the premium live event. At the end of the day, this should be a fun, enjoyable mini rivalry that is probably going to end at a SmackDown, unless they end up being a first round of the King of the Ring, if they still even do that. I don't think they are. I don't know when they are, but at the end of the day, I think it's great. I think what's being shown is solid between them two. Shinsuke doing it. The one thing I found interesting is they said inescapable submissions. Well, Shinsuke never gets a victory with a submission. So I don't understand that part. But I mean, exactly. Karrion Kross delivered one of the best promos he has since returning. This kind of shows that Vince isn't overhauling it, saying, no, you got to take it away, change everything about it. He's still doing what he's doing, and it's a bit of a dark gimmick. It has to be a good chance because Shinsuke is going to have to do a lot of work to make sure people care about Karrion Kross. And I don't know how many shots Karrion's going to have left to be put in that spot of, is this guy going to be a top star or a top heel or just a guy they can use in that position?
Yeah, this is definitely last chance for William.
And we already know he hasn't been on the show, on that show in general. LA Knight is money and getting money reactions.
He is getting money reactions, and he's getting over because he is very, very good at what he does. There's no doubt there. I've often spoken about the age thing and stuff on this show, but at the end of the day, he is getting over like nobody's business, and I've never doubted at all his ability in the ring because he is truly phenomenal at it. And I mean, quite honestly, quite a few things over the last couple of weeks convinced me enough to say that Vince McMahon probably hasn't got too much control over the WWE product right now. I'm absolutely certain that in terms of premium live event match cards and stuff like that, he is talking to Triple H about it. But I reckon if we exclude that Raw after WrestleMania, I think it truly is in Triple H's hands. I just think that Vince had a bit of a crazy night where he tried to take maybe back more control and then very quickly realized that, hey...
Almost like Vince was already in town.
Oh, yeah, he was, But I truly do believe, to go from one extreme to another, like him not being there or not having, any power over the next few weeks, or any extreme power over the card the next few weeks, I truly do believe that Vince actually saw and heard the reaction from talent backstage and all that. And even if it wasn't him directly, got briefed about it all. Like we said, straight after that, he is no longer, well, once the sale goes through, he is no longer the big boss man of WWE, right? Well, I mean, he's still very, very powerful, don't get me wrong, but Ari Emanuel at any point could overpower Vince. So, yeah, Vince really does have to listen to fan perception because, listen, Ari has done that in the UFC. They have made changes because of what fans have, responded and all of that. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, Ari is backdating the time and time again, so don't expect to see Vince gone. But, yeah, if there's anything like that, some big creative doubts, Vince would be probably forced out. I doubt he wants that to happen. So he's probably just given Triple H, the reins back, and then Vince is just having a little bit of a softer control over the big picture.
I almost think Ringside News said it best, and I don't want to. This was a couple weeks ago. I saw this, and they pretty much said they believe Vince McMahon's going to greenlight the majority of it. Triple H is showing him what's going to happen, and if Vince truly wants to, he probably could change it. But I think if he's not in person, like Raw after Mania, he's going to pretty much say, "Yeah, you're fine, go ahead." And it's very much if Vince McMahon doesn't want to show it on the show, he's not. Yeah, and I think he's as lenient when he's not there. Or he is this lenient when he's not there, and he's not going to.
It's quite evident.
He's not going to completely say, "No, you're rewriting it because I want you to."
And we've got
I think he's genuinely fine right now.
We've got Mart76 in the comments on YouTube saying when there's a WWE show in the Northeast, that is when Vince might, show up. And I mean, that would have to wait and see, quite truthfully, because who knows, maybe that will be right. But I do have a feeling that he got the message loud and clear following the Raw after Mania that he is no longer in that position to be, calling everything, writing everything, being in the weeds, as he called it. But I do think that, of course, he will still have his fingers over it a little bit.
It's very much
in a way that could be a good thing too, because he is a good mind when it's the bigger picture. It's the smaller things and being repetitive and all that. That's in recent years. Well, over the last decade.
I think it's very much his ego. Obviously, he might understand or know, but he's never going to admit it. It's like, oh, no, he's never going to admit Raw after Mania stuff.
Of course he's not.
He's never not. He's never going to admit that. But at the end of the day, I think he knows to an understanding that WWE was in good hands and is in good hands with Triple H. I think he does.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Are you in good hands? Sorry. Stay farm joke.
But let's move on now to the next match, and that was Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus the Viking Raiders. This was quite a fun match, apart from there was a bit of a botch where basically Braun Strowman accidentally took out Ricochet instead of one of the Viking Raiders. But apart from that, it was a fun match. Not too much to say about it. And then following this, we had the Women's Tag Team Championship match between Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. And yeah, basically...
Wasn't the women's tag after?
I don't actually...
After Gunther?
No, it was before.
The women's one was first.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've got it right order, Kobe. But we basically Raquel and Liv Morgan cheated to win. But of course, Chelsea and Sonya were cheating and all of that, so they basically got a bit of revenge. The cheeky face win. Corey Graves, sorry. I take that back. Wade Barrett on commentary was going nuts about it, saying he was going to complain. He was furious. But yeah. They got the win there. Nothing too great about this. It was fine for what it was. It advanced the story, I guess, but it's a story I don't have too much. Yeah, interesting. Like Chaos said, it was a bit of basically a snooze fest. But after this point, I believe it was after this point. If it wasn't, we're going to talk about it now regardless. Some matches were announced for a Backlash. And one of these matches was quite controversial. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Out of nowhere, it has been announced that Seth freaking Rollins will be taking on the Nigerian giant Omos at Backlash. and nobody has an idea why it's happening. There's no story there. It makes next to no sense. I don't really particularly want to see it personally. I don't have a reason to want to see it. I'm glad Seth's on the pay-per-view. Omos, I thought they were going to build him back up again, and then Lesnar squashed him. So everything I said prior to WrestleMania, where I kept giving them the benefit of the doubt, that's now out the window. I can't even defend it anymore. This makes absolutely zero sense, and this does feel like something where at one point a couple of years ago, WWE was just throwing matches on the pay-per-view very late out of nowhere. This feels like that. However, they do have 2 weeks to build it, I guess. But why announce it? Why not just build it and then announce it? It makes no sense to me. But Coby, I'm going to head to you first because I believe that you said earlier on that you were actually excited for this.
Idiot. Sorry. I'm joking.
So, I mean, people who are going to say that, oh, you can't tell me Vince isn't going to doesn't have influence because he booked that. Keep in mind, one of the first pretty full-on rivalries Triple H did was Braun Strowman and Omos. And that was in September. Started in September, at least. Or it was just October. But in general, that rivalry happened completely under Triple H. Triple H is one of the reasons why we got Brock Lesnar versus Omos. He understands what WrestleMania is and what WWE views WrestleMania is. WWE view WrestleMania as the biggest sports entertainment spectacle, not the best wrestling pay-per-view. That goes to AEW. I'll give them, they very much put on a lot of solid wrestling in AEW. I'll give it to them. But WWE is entertainment. They want a spectacle. Brock Lesnar lifting Omos is a spectacle. It's a moment. Seth Rollins versus Omos. No, it doesn't have the best build-up. I'm not going to say that. And while we could have another option like Seth Rollins versus LA Knight, that'd be money. At the end of the day, I'd rather have that match be built up, and the position of that could be a SummerSlam match if they want it. At the end of the day, Omos and Seth Rollins is going to be good. Put yourself in the shoes of the viewer or the person in attendance. The people who are in attendance are going to sing for Seth Rollins. You're going to hear the whoa, and you're going to hear that. It's going to be magical because it's in Puerto Rico. And then you're going to have Omos. While he's not necessarily going to get the best heel reactions, it's like if you watched the Collision in North Korea. They understand and knew who Antonio Inoki was. They had no clue who Ric Flair was. Ric Flair hurting Antonio Inoki, of course, is going to get a reaction. Omos may not be the best heel, may not be the biggest heel. He might be the biggest because he's physically big. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be booed out of the building like a Roman Reigns possibly could. Or Brock's probably going to get booed more for beating up Cody Rhodes. Omos is going to attack Seth Rollins, and the crowd's going to react. Seth Rollins is going to they're going to do something similar. Omos holding himself up to break the stomp, and when Seth actually gets it, the crowd's going to go wild. It's a match that's there for the fact that this is going to be it's not going to be the best match. It's not going to be a 5-star Meltzer match. It's not going to get a 5-star. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be a Brock and Omos type match. We're going to see it. I don't have a problem with this. I'd have a problem if they said, hey, Seth, let's do you and Ali for no build-up other than you fought each other or you stomped him on the build-up on the road to WrestleMania. I for matches like that, like a Seth Ali, a Seth LA Knight, I want those to be built up. I don't necessarily care if this match is built up. I understand why it's being booked. And for those saying, oh, Vince has his hands in the dirt, you're essentially saying Triple H is a bad booker because Triple H understands who he's booking for. And here's
why I disagree with you. I agree with some of the stuff you said that, like, Omos is an attraction, right? That Lesnar Omos match going to WrestleMania, I was one of the few defending it, even though when it was announced, I wasn't happy. When we got closer to it, and I actually said when we walk into WrestleMania that I was excited actually to see it. But at the end of the day, Omos got squashed, and that was an event, WrestleMania. That's the event which a lot, well, pretty much nearly all casual fans watch, or at least check the results about. Less than a month later, he's facing Seth Rollins in a match which makes no sense. It's not like, it's like, oh, this is going to be an interesting challenge for Seth Rollins. And it's not like a lot of the people that, basically everybody in attendance there will know that Lesnar just squashed Omos a month ago. And in the past, we've seen, we have, of course, seen Seth Rollins defeat Lesnar. So it's a confusing one to me. I don't particularly get it. But Chaos, what are your thoughts on this match?
All right, let me go and shatter these dreams right now like gold dust. Now, this WWE house, like a live house show. This is something that will be on Saturday night's main event. Now, how this benefits either one of them, I don't know. The fact that obviously Omos just had a big match, lost to Lesnar at WrestleMania. If he loses again, obviously that he's going to lose more credibility. And obviously everyone was saying that he shouldn't lose because that will hurt him at Mania. He lost. If he loses to Rollins, what's that going to do for him? If Rollins loses, he's on a good roll. He's just obviously obviously if he loses, if Rollins loses, then obviously that loses all his momentum that he got from Logan Paul. He's already, so it does nothing for nobody. Where they're gonna go with this? I can't say if this has Vince or Triple H. I think this is more Triple H's thing because he thinks, all right, I've hit gold twice with Omos in terms of match quality. Sure, the Braun Strowman won the first one, and obviously he won. That match was better than it needed to be. Lesnar, even though it was a squash, it went over pretty well. Now we're staying on. Let me put him against Seth Rollins, and obviously Rollins can work with anyone. But dude, they've never met each other. There is no reason for this, and now they're gonna make a lame excuse for them to have beef on the next upcoming 2 weeks of Raw. It's really weird. I don't like how they're just booking Omos and just facing anyone with no build up. This is something that you might see on they'll be on the pre-show if they still did those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't think it benefits anyone. I don't think it's gonna go well. And yeah, like match wise, especially with smaller guys, they're usually not that great. It usually does well with bigger guys. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna go down well. Like I don't know what they're trying to aim for. Unless this is another promo match. This could be also a sponsorship match. Keep that in mind. This might be sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's all I got to say on that. It might be one of those.
Oh gosh, don't give them ideas. I understand it from a business perspective. A couple of matches at WrestleMania which were sponsored, I didn't have an issue with. But if that's the reason they're doing this, I'm not going to be happy because you got to make it make sense from a storyline perspective. And you got Mark76 in the YouTube comments going, it had no build up. Why are they having a match? And then he is going to Kobe's point, comparing it to Collision at Korea, Inoki versus Flair, and he is saying that when most of the people there are forced to go, and I mean that's for the longest time being what was said about it. A lot of people were, forced to go to that event, whereas it certainly is not like that. At a Backlash in a week's time, those fans are well and truly aware that Omos got squashed by Brock Lesnar just a couple of weeks ago. And then he finishes his statement, Mark76, saying, whether it's Hunter or Vince, the Omos push has not worked. And I mean, to be fair, it's hard for a push to work when you're bucking him to lose every single big match. It makes no sense to me, and it does make me a little angry. Because if he's to be fair,
he did win this squash match. He did win this squash match at Raw after Mania. I can't remember who that was again.
Elias,
so
yeah.
He got one W, so there you go. The push is still going.
Oh gosh. But let's now move on to the Intercontinental Championship bout between Xavier Woods and Gunther. And firstly, I've completely actually forgotten her second name, so this is a slight botch on my part. But the SmackDown ring announcer, Samantha, what's the second name? Kobe, do you know?
Irvin.
Irvin. Damn, she is really good. I mean, I saw a
Very much.
compilation this week about like her ring announcing, and I didn't actually even realize how great she was, but her Imperium announcing, whoo, fantastic work. But yeah, this was a really fun match between Xavier Woods and Gunther. But in the end, Gunther won. Woods looked really good in defeat. And yeah, I'm glad they've given Xavier Woods something to do over the last few weeks. I kind of wish it went on slightly longer, this feud, but it was a fun match. But Chaos, what were your thoughts on it?
I'll be honest, I need to go and check this one out. I've only seen the highlights of it, but it looked pretty solid. Obviously I knew that we all knew who the winner was going to be. Xavier Woods still has to wait for that big gold belt to complete the trifecta of the New Day, winning a big one. But yeah, from what I saw from the highlights, it looked pretty fun. The chemistry with them two are great. Obviously, just a placeholder for whatever they got in store for Gunther. I think it's still prime. It's still prime for Sheamus to finally get that IC title. And then who knows what's going on with Drew McIntyre and make it spin off that. But yeah, I haven't got too much to say on it. I just know that from what I saw, it was very good, but I need to see the match as a whole for proper judge it. But yeah, as far as I saw, it was a good match.
What about you, Kobe?
I mean, I said it yesterday in the show, and I said this match probably could seal the show, and I thought it was on par. It was really good match, of course. That's always what you're going to get with a Gunther. Xavier Woods, of course, always can hang with people like that. At the end of the day, it did, like, I 100% agree. I feel like the match left me wanting more from these two. I thought the sleeper end was reversed. Like, I thought he arm dragged him out of the sleeper hold, and then all of a sudden he locked him in, and then he was out. So I thought it looked weird. Maybe the finish was weird or didn't look as good as it should have. But at the end of the day, it was a solid match. Of course, Gunther was going to win. I think WWE is in a very weird position with almost all of their champions right now. And I'm thinking about doing an honesty about that right now. Wink, wink.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Article
it was it was a solid match. What you would expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Between those two great competitors. But now let's move on to what was actually my match of the night. And two other great competitors in Solo Sikoa taking on Matt Riddle. This was a really, really fun main event. It was no disqualification. And Solo Sikoa really does seem unbeatable now, right? Matt Riddle looked like he had to do everything to get the victory. And for a second, you thought he had it. And then he didn't because the Bloodline came in and helped Solo get that victory. Solo Sikoa might actually, in terms of kayfabe, be the most believable person to beat Roman Reigns at this moment in time. But he is looking like a real force now. And Solo Sikoa, when he was in NXT, don't get me wrong, I thought he was going to be, I thought he was going to do well in WWE, but I thought it'd be a mid-card talent. But he really could be set for the main event with the run they're putting him on basically right now. This kind of makes me even more shocked about the fact that Cody beat Solo in the build-up to WrestleMania. I still think that Roman should have taken Cody out during that match and made it a DQ loss or whatever. But the fact that Cody pinned Solo still surprises me, and it still kind of creates some confusion for me personally. But Chaos, what were your thoughts on this match? And what are your thoughts on the booking of Solo Sikoa at the minute?
In terms of the booking, I'll just go backwards. So in terms of the booking of Solo, I don't think it's that damaging. I mean, I know that obviously he was undefeated against Cody, but they weren't really putting that at the forefront, so he could afford to lose. I agree that I thought that it was going to be a DQ finish in order to protect, if they really wanted to protect that undefeated streak, then they could have easily done a DQ finish, but obviously he didn't. He won clean. So I think because they didn't really put it in the forefront, he didn't really say that much in commentary or whatnot. So that's why they could afford it. Booking wise, I think it's still solid. I feel like he's going to be a major player when the Bloodline fully crumbles. There's been little tidbits and little hints at that he's probably going to be one of the prime players to see where, I don't know whether he's going to be working alongside Roman or going against him. I don't know. It'd be pretty cool. But in terms of the match itself, very fun, awesome main event. I thought this this one was, it could have went either way, but I'm happy with the outcome on it. And it was just very solid, perfect stipulation for it being a no disqualification. I feel like the story is playing out very well on this. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, very solid, and give Solo time. I think he will still be one of the major players on SmackDown if they still stay on SmackDown, of course.
Yeah, and he is very young as well. So
yes.
Age is certainly on his side. But Kobe, what was your thoughts on the main event?
I mean, we said this on the show yesterday. It was going to be a fun match. It should be a brutal match, and it was. We saw kendos, we saw chairs, we saw the table being flipped once again. Shout back, or not a shout back, but a shout out to what they did last week with Sikoa burying him. At the end of the day, they are very much making Solo Sikoa very, very strong. But I do agree with that. It's a surprising match that was booked on the road to WrestleMania that neither could lose.
Yeah.
And a DQ finish would not have helped, I don't think. I think Cody beating Sikoa really was the best move for him, because then you can kind of say, well, Cody's done it before and Sikoa's going to work his way, and that is a future main event or a future major match between the two as well. And I think that is good, but I do agree, like, they're really making him strong. He's in a great position. He looks strong. He is strong. He isn't getting exposed as too young and too inexperienced. He has the enough experience to where he isn't getting exposed. I think it was 100% a solid match. But I do think the one thing is, this is what Clark mentioned, is Solo Sikoa is the reason Roman Reigns is still champion. I think Sikoa stays with Roman when the bloodline ends. When the Usos leave or split or do whatever and they do Roman J, I think Sikoa is going to side with Roman as that enforcer, because I almost think of it the way they mention at the Rumble. When Jey Uso walked out and the closing moments was Roman Reigns and Sikoa looking at it, he said, we aren't going to take any prisoners. Roman Reigns is going to be what makes Sikoa that killer. And I think that's the way to go.
No, I mean, Solo. Sorry, go on, Chaos, go on.
Sorry, yeah, no, my rebuttal regarding, obviously, that the DQ finish may not have worked. In terms of, I feel like the loss to Cody for Solo, that would have definitely helped or solidified it if actually Cody won at Mania. Because obviously that just shows that obviously he's slowly picking off the bloodline, but for some reason, he's able to take out Solo, but he's not able to take out the big dog. Sure, obviously Solo had had a take on like an input on it, but obviously before then he was all saying that Solo's not ready. He's not ready. He was able to beat him in a match, but he just made him look foolish at Mania. Solo making Cody look foolish because he's the one that cost him winning. So I'm just like, if that was the case, then maybe the DQ finish would have been maybe the better option. But then again, I said it before, I feel like the plan was for Cody to win at Mania, but as soon as that sale happened, something happened backstage. Something was off with Night 2, so maybe that's why.
I mean, of course I understand. Obviously, we don't know what would have happened and if it would have worked out in the past, because we can't go back in time and change something and see how it plays out.
No, of course.
But at the end of the day, I don't think Cody needed to win something by DQ on his road to WrestleMania. I think that's what it comes down to me.
Well, it's just the fact that it would have made Reigns look more brutal.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, both of you guys made great points there, and to be like you did say, Kobe, right? If they come back to this and have a big match between Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes, which they could well do, very easily could do, and make a big thing about that loss on the road to WrestleMania, if they really do that and make that a big focus point about it's the only person who could beat Solo, he's down creeping in for Solo, all that type of stuff, that could be a money match, right? So If that happens, I take back everything I just said about it. But anyway, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, guys. Thank you for joining. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and a 5-star. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for watching. We'll be back here the same time tomorrow. See you tomorrow.